another installment of our educational pieces we've been doing here lately. I want to introduce, as always, we have with us Dawn Dantzler, our Director of Marketing. Say hello, Dawn.
Hey, everybody.
All right, so Dawn is going to be moderating the questions again for us, as she does every time. So if you have questions during this presentation, don't ever hesitate to reach out, and we will answer every single one of them that we're able to do. So again, Eric with Tilson Homes, thank you for joining us. Hope you're having a wonderful time at home, enjoying family and enjoying a little bit of rest and relaxation. Today, we are going to talk about developing land for building a home. So we get the question a lot, how long does the whole process take? Okay, well, that can be a very difficult question to answer because we don't really know what's going on the property until we can come see it. So that's the whole thing about build on your land, is it's your land. We didn't pick the land. The customers choose us, and we're grateful for that. But until we can get a real good evaluation of the property, and not just the actual property itself, what's physically there, but some of the underlying things that are going on with the property, perhaps title or easements or the survey itself. There's all kinds of things that go into that. And kind of what we want to do today is build a little bit of a contrast, because a lot of people have never built a home on their own land before. They've only ever bought a production subdivision home. And what you'll find when you go in to buy a production subdivision home, that's the builder's land. So they bought that land from a developer. That developer has spent, in most cases, years getting that property, what's referred to as entitled, which simply means that they're going back and forth with either the city or with some type of a county commissioner's court, getting the lots surveyed and platted and recorded with the county. And then they had the roads put in, they had the water lines put in, they had water meters installed, they had the sewer system put in, they had power run and put in. All of those things were done before you ever showed up to that production subdivision model home and went in and bought that. The permits are already pulled. There were maybe 2 or 3 different floor plans that could go on a particular lot, given the setbacks and deed restrictions that are in place. So a lot of that upfront work, actually all of it, was done before you ever walked in the door to buy one of those homes. And such is not the case when you're building a home on your land. So really, a large portion of the time frame that's going on when you're building your land is that upfront development work. So in most cases, there's no power there yet, at least not exactly at the site. There's no water there. There's no, it may not even be cleared. There's no access in some cases, no construction drive, certainly no permanent driveway there. There's no sewer or septic system of any kind, and there's no permits for any of those things in place yet. So you can't just run out somewhere and start building without getting permission from a county or a city. You can't run out and install a septic system or sewer system without getting permission, a permit from a county or a city. So we're going to spend a lot of time today talking about those things. If you have any questions at all about site prep, we're going to talk about that. So let me get a few slides in here. We're going to let some of these questions stack up, and then we will stop and ask questions. Does that sound, Don? We go with that? All right, I guess so. All right, so let's talk about developing land for building a home. First thing we want to get to, what we're going to talk about today. Well, obviously, we'll tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do. The whole point, we're really doing this is to help educate you guys. It's building on your land is a very different process than any way you've built a home before. It's very, very different from building a home, even a custom home in a subdivision where the builder's already taken down the lots, bought the lots. So, part of the reason we do this is we've been doing this a long time. So we really can give you a great educational foundation on what it takes to build a home on your land. That's all we've ever done. We've been doing this for the better part of a century, building homes on rural land all over Texas. And on average, a family moves into their brand new Tilson home just about every day. In some cases, in some years, more than that. So your lot, building on your lot means, of course, it could mean an actual lot, like a smaller lot. It could mean your land, farm, ranch, retirement, second home site, your lake property. I know we just visited last week with one of our consultants, Jerry, and the home we talked about that he did for his customer, it was retirement or a second home for Lou. They live here in the Houston area, and they built out northwest of Austin, just a little weekend place, beautiful 5 acres. So it could mean that, it could mean a lake house, but basically it's the home of your choice, exactly where you want it on your land. Here's some interesting things that we find out. And I don't know if it's the developers don't tell customers this when they're buying the land or exactly what, but there's a lot of things that we can help you do, of course. The more we can help you, usually the better it is. However, as the owner of the property, since it's your land, there are some things that we absolutely cannot do. We aren't allowed to do. We can't legally do. So we're going to need you to do. We can help you. We can hold your hand kind of all the way through the process. But there's certain things that you, as the landowner, as the person in title, must do. For instance, one of those is requesting a 911 address from the county. Usually doesn't cost anything to do that, but I cannot, on behalf of a customer, go ask for that. The customer has to request that. Utility setups, for instance, is a great one. You'll have to, like, I can't set up an electrical account on your land. I can't ask for a water meter to be installed on your piece of property. Just like you couldn't ask for one to be installed on my piece of property. So if I'm the production subdivision type of builder and I own all 30 of these lots, yes, I can go down and I can ask the cooperative to install water meters on every single one of these lots. But that's because I own the lots. If I'm building on your land, I need you to go establish all of that. So power accounts, water accounts, if there is a sewer, applying for that. It's typically septic where we build. We'll talk about both here today. The permit application, this is getting more and more rare, thankfully. We can usually do this for you, and we include doing it on all of ours. But in some counties, still today in Texas, the property owner, the landowner, has to go file for the permit application. I know one of those is Washington County, where Brenham is. They require that the actual landowner physically walk into the location and make application. We can't do it on your behalf. Most of the other ones, they've got either they'll let us do it on your behalf, or they've given there's some documentation you can sign giving us permission to do it on your behalf. But there are still a few. Walker County was one of the last holdouts up there in Huntsville. I think we can go on your behalf now and do that. And so there's just some other responsibilities too. And sometimes it's done ahead of us. We can do these things for you. We can include them in the price a lot of times, or you can have them done outside of whoever you're choosing as a builder, and that's the actual clearing of the site, septic systems, et cetera, things like that. Like a lot of places, there's nothing to clear, so there'd be no point in including clearing, for instance. So let's pause here for a second. Dawn, do we have any questions rolling right this second?
We do. The first few actually did not come through into my other system, so I cannot pop them up on the screen, so I apologize for that, but I will read them out to you. Victoria is asking how much site prep is included. She has 3 acres of land and plans on building the LaSalle. All
right. Well, Victoria, that's a great question. So how much site prep is included? The answer is it depends on the county in which we're building. So our standards and our pricing is based on the county where it is. And in all the areas we build, we do include between 12 and 24 inches of what's referred to as out of level or slope elevation of the property is included in the base price of our homes. Again, the kind of the closer you get to the coast, it's 12 inches, that's included. Then as the further you get away, up to 24, in some cases, I think even 30 inches, maybe out in the hill country. But so that's however much is included is whatever county that you happen to be building that home in, and your local design center can tell you what the standards are. But we do include the dealing with out of level or slope up to a certain number of inches everywhere we build. It's very specific to where that property is. Great question.
Okay, great. Lisa is asking if we have our own construction crew or do we contract with local construction companies in the area where we are building?
Great question. So the answer is we do contract out. It may not necessarily be locally. However, so we like to use the same crews over and over because they know they're very understanding of our plans. They've built them before in many cases. We know their work, so we know what kind of workmanship, what kind of craftsmanship, what kind of quality that they're going to put out there. Because we don't. I mean, obviously we do use new ones from time to time. You got to build the bench somehow, but For the most part, we like using the same crews who we can depend on and we can rely on the product that they're putting out there. Your job superintendent, your builder, is a full-time Tilson employee with Tilson benefits. That person, kind of project manager that is tasked with overseeing and commanding the project along. That is a Tilson employee in a Tilson vehicle with a Tilson phone and a, almost a laptop. We don't use those anymore. A Tilson iPad. Now, so that's how that is done. I don't know if there are builders, at least in this area, where they have like their own framing crews, their own concrete crew. I'm sure there are some. We did it 40 years ago. We had some of our own framing crews and things like that, but very rarely anymore is that the case. It's much more cost effective to use independent contractors, which is actually kind of what we are for you, for the customer. We're an independent contractor for you doing that. So great question.
Okay, that makes sense. Vero is asking if they can use their own dirt for a pad. They have 12 acres.
So, okay, Vera, so can I use my own dirt for a pad? I have 12 acres. The answer is possibly. We'd wanted to go out there and take a look, do a geotechnical investigation, see what kind of dirt that it is, see what we're working with. Because we are concerned, of course, with the moisture content, how it responds to excess moisture, lack of moisture, so we know how it's going to behave in a drought or in excessive rainy times. So the answer is we would come out and take a look at that. If it's something that we can use, we certainly will. And if it's not, we'll have a pretty compelling reasoning as to why not. Because it'd be great for us if we could use that as well. It's going to save money on diesel and trucking in material. I mean, that's usually one of the higher costs of the. If a pad has to be built, that's one of the costs that contributes to that greatly, is having to truck in material from somewhere else. So, and we have done that before with customers, is use stuff on site. Great question.
Okay, great. And then we have Carmel, who has a lot on a slope in North San Antonio, almost all rock, of course. Thinks the lot and rock will have a lot to do with, what kind of plan they choose. Can we come out and visit them to help pick out which plan is going to fit best?
Yeah, the answer is we can. So if I understood the lot's in slope on North San Antonio, it's almost all rock. I think the lot and the rock have lots to do which plan we can choose. Yeah, so I would certainly reach out to our design center in Bernie. No doubt that we have encountered that there. We've been out there for, we've had a design center there for over 30 years, nearly 40 years actually. And, but we've been building out there since the 60s. So we're very, very familiar with that. And yeah, we'd be glad to come out and take a look at it, assess it. It would be helpful to have a survey if you have that, so we can have, it sounds like it might be small. So if you're worried about size, so, but yes.
Okay. Awesome. So Vicky is asking if she would save money building a 2-story over a 1-story.
We get that question a lot. The answer is maybe, but not necessarily. So in other words, it's not an automatic guarantee that it's going to be less expensive to do 2-story than it is 1. Certainly there is some logic there where the, if it's exact box, and I think we talked about this in one of the other ones, but if it's a 2,000 square foot house and it's 1,000 feet downstairs and 1,000 feet upstairs, then yes, theoretically that slab and that roof could be half the size than it would be in a 2,000 square foot 1-story home. So if it's just that simple of an exercise, then yes. But we see very, very few designs that are done that way. Mostly it's, if it is a 2-story home, it's 75 or 80% of the living area downstairs, and then maybe a room or two up. So it's not necessary. I wouldn't use that as the primary driver on building my forever home if it were me. But it is a good question, and theoretically, in most cases, yes, but not absolute 100% of the time. Great question.
Okay. Greg just wants to say hi.
I saw Mr. Tomlinson saying that. Yes, he's a really good friend, actually. Great guy.
Awesome.
Business.
Okay. Jamie wants to put in a request that we consider Nolan County. So
okay, we will consider Nolan County. We want to be sure we can hold the high standard of our customer service and expectations if we're going to serve an area for sure. So.
Awesome. And then Colleen is asking how much land needs to be cleared for septic over and above the house.
Ooh, yeah, Colleen, that's a great question. And the answer is it depends on the percolation test, the type of soil. So that's going to have to be, we're going to defer to the registered sanitarian, which is who designs the septic system. So they'll tell you kind of how much underbrush needs to be done, because there can still be trees in most areas where there's where the septic spray is going, where the septic field is going to be. It can't be like thicket. I know that. I know they won't let it just be, they won't just run out there and put a sprinkler head in the middle of the woods. It will have to have some underbrushing done, but because it's usually 6, 8, 10,000 square feet of spray area that most of the designs that I see call for. But it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be just like completely cleared grass. It can still have trees in it, but a registered sanitarian in your area would be able to tell you exactly based on design, because it has to do with how many gallons per day they predict that the home is going to be is going to be putting into the septic system, into the sewer system. So there are calculations that TCEQ gives them, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality gives them, that says, okay, based on this type of soil, it'll absorb X many gallons per day, and so therefore you need X many thousand square feet of area to service it. So that's how that works. It depends on the soil. Great question.
Okay. Victoria has a property with a lot of pine trees and is wondering if we can help clear that out for construction.
The answer is yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're very familiar working with in East Texas, pine trees, all that kind of stuff, sweet gums. There's probably a lot of those too, probably a lot of yopon, and probably some poison ivy in there. So, but yeah, absolutely, we can help clear that for construction, no problem.
Okay, and then Neil is asking if a soil test is required or helpful.
The answer is yes and yes. Actually, it's probably not required. I should take that back. There are builders that still to this day, do not do geotechnical investigation, soil tests of any kind. We do. It is included in the base price of every home that we build is some type of geotechnical investigation. Now, sometimes that means it's a 15 or 20 foot site bore, a 3-inch bore. We always do that inside the footprint of the home. If it's rock, like one of our listeners or viewers, are they viewers, Dawn? Are they viewers, I guess.
The viewers, yes.
Okay, you have to forgive me, folks. I have a face for radio, so I think radio sometimes.
Well, Facebook now does give you the option to only listen to the audio, since everybody's bogging down the internet lately. So technically, I guess they could just be listening to you like a podcast.
It's possible. Okay, well, hopefully the view. Anyway, hers being on rock, for instance, in those situations, they won't do a 15 or 20 foot core sample of rock. They're going to go out there and dig what's called a test pit, usually maybe with a backhoe or some type of construction equipment to find out how much rock there is. And if you're building your house on a rock, I've read somewhere that that's a very good thing. So not necessarily a bad deal. But yes, we do geotech, and they are super helpful, Neil. They tell you a lot. And we do too inside the footprint of the home, because soil types vary greatly from place to place, and even on one piece of property, they could vary. So great question.
Okay. We do have a lot more questions coming in, but I think I'm going to let you go ahead and go through
here, and for the sake of everyone's time, and we'll go through a couple more slides, and we'll pause again for questions. But yeah, y'all keep the questions coming. We'll stay on and answer them as long as we have to. So until the internet runs out. So we're going to get to test these last month. So before you can build, there's some important documents. There's some utilities, there's site access, there's site plan and preparation. There's some things that we're going to need before we ever start. Now, this is, if you've talked to one of our design centers, you've asked them, how long does it take? They'll probably meet you with something like this. And kind of, well, it depends. It depends on how ready you and your property are for construction to begin. And in most cases, it's not, which is fine. That's cool. That's why you're coming to us. We can help you with that. But there are some things that have to happen. And luckily, a lot of the stuff can be happening in conjunction with design. So like while we're working on your plans and drawing the actual CAD files of your plans, and you're selecting your design center and color selections, all that stuff's happening in at the same time that these documents and utilities and site access, all that kind of stuff's going on. So these can be happening simultaneously. But there are some things that do have to happen serially, one after another, once we start going. So what kind of documents are we talking about? Why would we need paperwork? We're trying to build something here. Well, we are definitely going to need a deed of some sort. We need proof that you own the property. If it is built on your lot, we need to make sure that it is in fact your lot. You're going to need some type of title. We recommend highly that you have title insurance. It's not absolutely necessary. It will be absolutely necessary if you are getting a loan. That will be required. Plat and a survey, or some type of survey, we're going to need that. And then, of course, if there are any deed restrictions, any kind of requirements for the land itself, we're going to need a copy of those, which those are public information. So we were able to acquire that pretty easily, even if you don't have them. That's no problem. But what are these things that we're talking about? Well, a deed to the property is put very simply, it's just proof of ownership. Okay, it lists a grantor, which is the seller, and a grantee, which is the buyer. It usually contains, or has to contain, what are we talking about? What property are we talking about? We got a couple of examples here. Sometimes it's describing, it might be what's called lot and block. So lot 21, block 7, or there's going to be what's referred to as meets and bounds, or a physical description of the property. You usually find that on larger tracts of land. Sometimes 1 acre lots, but certainly if it's a 5, 10, 20, 500 acre piece of property, it's almost assuredly going to be meets and bounds, which is simply it's a literary description of a physical piece of land. So beginning at an iron rod here, going 500 feet this way, turn northeast at this many degrees. Like it's very, very detailed and very, very accurate, and that's really important that it be correct. And then a seller is going to sign that, and then it has to be recorded to be valid. So if a deed, if your Mima and Papa deeded something to you, but it never was recorded at the county, it didn't happen. It's not recognized. And you'll see different things. There's special warranty deed, there's gift deed, there's warranty deed with vendor's lien. There's all the different kinds of paperwork. So if you have a document that you have a question about, bring it to us. We've seen everything. I hope. I eat those words this week. But we've seen, with respect to deeds, we've seen pretty well everything there is out there. So bring it to us. We'll take a look at it and let you know if it's something that can be used or not, or a title company can let you know, which is the next thing we highly, highly recommend that you have on the property, which is title insurance or a title policy. We're going to open title no matter what. So we're going to ask for a title commitment, which the difference between title commitment and title insurance is a title commitment is simply, hey, here's, we're asking a title company to go, hey, these are the folks that are wanting to build this house. They are the deed. The deed is in their name. They are the owners of the property. Will you please research the title? In other words, will you search the chain of title going all the way back to what's referred to as the sovereignty of the soil, or basically the premise being that all land once belonged to the government. So in Texas, that might mean going back to the Spanish land grants, long time ago. But what it means is they're going to research that chain of title and make sure that every time this property changed hands over the last centuries, or 50 years or 80 years, however long, that it was done properly, that everybody was copacetic to it, that there weren't any outstanding maybe judgments or liens or divorces or kids that no one knew about, or ex-wives that no one knew about, or ex-husbands that no one knew about. Any disputed liens, the title company researches all that and says, yep, it's good to go. And that's when you would get a policy, a title insurance policy. And it's exactly what it says it is. It's an insurance policy. So that if anyone came and disputed and said, nope, my great grandma told me that this is my land and I'm suing you for my 1/8 undivided interest from 50 years ago. If you have a title insurance policy, that title insurance company will go to bat on your behalf to fight that. And if it turns out that she's right, by the way, they will cut you a check and make you whole for whatever the policy amount was. So it's insurance, and it's required if you're getting a loan. If you're doing a home mortgage, the mortgage company is going to require a title insurance policy. Okay, boundary survey. What is a survey and how is it different from a plat? Well, we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll probably stop for some questions. But a survey is a drawing of the property. It's exactly that. So it's showing us, what the dimensions are, how far away each of the property pins or corners are, if there are any building lines, easements, setbacks. So in other words, you own the whole, let's say, in this case, probably an acre or so. You own the whole piece of property, but there are specific areas on there that you cannot build permanent structure. So for instance, this one's looks like it has 25-foot building lines going down the side and probably a 50-foot building line across the back. In other words, you can't build the whole land is yours. You can walk on it. You can typically do driveway, build fence, landscape, plant flowers, plant garden, whatever. But you can't build any permanent structure, which is typically defined as house, outbuildings, swimming pools, garages, outside or over these building lines or these easements. Which is why you'll see kind of on the left side, the bottom side of the page there, the house is right up against that building line. And anyway, so it's simply showing a plat won't always have this detailed level of information. We really need a boundary survey. And also as part of the boundary survey is the surveyor will actually flag the corner. So they'll put the rods in the ground and orange tape around them so that they're easy to identify. Easy for us to see, and then we can measure from them to ensure that we are in fact however many feet away that we have to be in compliance. It will also show you if there's any kind of electric line or gas pipeline or anything like that again you can't build on top of those things. There's easements that utility companies have, easements that power companies have that were already in place before you went in and purchased the property. That again you own the surface, but you can't build on top. Because they have an easement going through. So a lot of people have questions about that. It's something to be paid attention to. It also is going to have the RPLS, which is the Registered Professional Land Surveyor. It'll have their stamp. They have a seal down here you see at the bottom. It'll have their signature. And of course, it's going to have they have a registration number. That's a licensing by TDLR. They're licensed by Texas Department of License and Registration. So you want to be sure that a survey has got all that information on there. It may have the flood information on there. It may not. If it doesn't, we'll order it. That's okay. So move on about that. That's a boundary survey. And lastly, we'll talk about deed restrictions and then move on. So I'm sorry, we'll pause for questions. But deed restrictions, what are these? Well, if you're in a recorded subdivision, a deed restricted subdivision, there's going to be a document recorded at the county that lists all the requirements of this particular subdivision. So they may say you have to have minimum of 2,000 square feet of heated and cooled living area, exclusive of garages and porches. We'll read something like that. You can have a maximum, we see this a lot on lake properties, a maximum height of the ridge. The top of the house can't be taller than 19 feet, 25 feet, whatever it is. That's a pretty rare one, but it does happen quite a bit around lakes. They don't want you blocking someone else's view. If you ever see something marketed as a lake view lot, well, they can't market it like that if they're going to let somebody that's on lakefront lot build something that's going to obstruct that lake view. So that's why you'll see sometimes a maximum height, which is kind of a weird one. Required materials, we require 60% masonry or 75% masonry, and then they'll define typically these days, and we define masonry as stone, stucco, or brick. You'll see those. What type of roofing is required? Garage requirements, minimum of 2-car, no more than 4-car in a lot of cases. They don't want you to build, a quick lube garage out there. Sorry, guys. And then plan approval guidelines. They'll lay out a process of some type of an architectural control committee saying, hey, you have to submit a full set of plans, a site plan, exterior colors to this body over here, this body of people, and then they will approve or decline or ask you to revise. That's what architectural approval means. So, and a lot of times they'll have deposits. We see this a lot with developments that are ongoing. They want deposits so that if damage is done to the roads or to like maybe a gated entrance or something like that, they'll take that out of the deposit to pay to fix if the builder or homeowner refuses to fix it. So those are not abnormal, and they're interesting to see. So Dawn, do we have questions? I think we have questions.
We do have questions. So Dawn is asking about our financing program, and is there a bank the buyer is required to use for approval?
So no, it's not a bank. You're not required to use them. We do have 2 lenders that we prefer to use. That is really only because they are very familiar with building on your own land, and most banks and mortgage companies are not. They're very good at most banks and mortgage companies are very familiar with resales. So houses in subdivisions are already built, go into like the real estate market, realtors. They're familiar with refinances, and they're familiar with new construction. So houses that already exist in, say, Happy Acres or something like that. But for building a home on your land and getting the loan up front for that, that's where most banks and mortgage companies start to kind of look at you like you introduce them to running water. They don't understand the process as much. So that's the only reason we recommend the two that we recommend, which at this time are AMCAP and CMG Financial. But you can theoretically use anyone. It just may almost assuredly will take a little bit longer. But there's not a bank you have to get approved from to build with us.
Okay. So Lagina is asking if she likes the Breckenridge, what would be a good way to make it less expensive? She's asking if the 1-story is less. What do we do to cut costs if we're in love with that floor plan?
Yep. So we've got smaller floor plans that we've actually taken ideas of the Breckenridge and made them custom options on some of the smaller plans. So a local design consultant at one of our design centers could easily walk you through that process. But if it's the kitchen that you love out of the Breckenridge, which is when we get a lot, the island out of the Breckenridge that you like, or even the master bath out of the Breckenridge that you like, we've done those features as custom options in a lot of our smaller floor plans. The Magnolia, for instance, we did one a couple weeks ago with Eric McKiernan, our design consultant in Katy, and he had taken the Fredericksburg master bath, almost identical, and put it in the Magnolia master bathroom, and that house is 1,500 square feet smaller. So it cost a lot less than the Fredericksburg did, and the customer got the features they wanted. We used actually the exact same island that was in the Fredericksburg, and the same master bath, and so we were able to accomplish exactly what they wanted, just doing those features. So it's a pretty easy thing to do. But as far as like shrinking the Breckenridge down and making it smaller, is probably not a very cost-effective way to do that. We're going to be better off finding another floor plan, taking the features that you really love about the Breckenridge, and putting those where they go. Because part of what makes the Breckenridge so beautiful is the size of it. Everything needs to be to scale for those things to kind of work aesthetically. Great question.
Abraham is asking if we have any idea the average price in Medina County for a water well.
Ooh, man, Abraham.
Which design center would we like to direct him to for that?
Yeah, definitely Bernie. Definitely call the Bernie Design Center. That might give. There's probably not an average price though. That's what's going to be the kicker. You're probably going to find that it ranges a lot. It could be anywhere from probably $12,000 or $15,000 all the way to $30,000, maybe $35,000. I just don't know exactly what area you're in, and that's going to determine the depth, and then also the labor that's needed to drill through whatever they're going to have to drill through to get down to a good potable aquifer that's sustainable. But yeah, I would definitely reach out to our office in Bernie, and we can put you on to a contractor that can give us a much better idea. But I don't think I wouldn't try to cast an average price out there if I were king. It varies too much. What else do we have?
All right, makes sense. Andrew is asking about whether he needs to have an aerobic septic system.
You have to have an aerobic septic system in Grayson County. The answer is probably not necessarily, but most counties have made it where it's kind of difficult to not have aerobic, to have a conventional system. The guidelines are actually set up by the TCEQ, by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. So it's not technically up to the counties what goes in and what doesn't. However, they are the ones that issue the permit. So it can turn into a when in Rome, do as the Romans kind of deal. In other words, just because you can technically and scientifically do a conventional system, it doesn't mean they're going to make it very easy to get a permit to do one. So it's kind of a pick your battles sometimes. And I'm not saying that Grayson County is that way. That's just statewide, broadly speaking, that's how it works. Typically, if it's a smaller lot, if it's less than 2 acres, you're almost assuredly going to have aerobic. It's very difficult to fit all the various requirements onto it, and definitely if you have a water well, it's going to be tough to do conventional, or if your neighbors have a water well, it's going to be tough to do conventional. But bigger pieces of property, 10 acres, 20 acres, 50 acres and up, there's no real good reason you can't do a conventional, but that doesn't mean the county is going to make it easy. So something to think about. And we can help you through that process. We can help you navigate that. Our Melissa office, for sure. I mean, we're like 8 miles from Grayson County, where we are there. Great question, Amy.
Well, here's an interesting one from Carmel, asking if the build includes 12 to 24 inches of foundation, can we step the foundation to essentially make the first floor 2 levels?
So is there potential? So, I mean, physically, yes, that will be possible. We find that that's very rare that we end up doing that. It ends up being, to most folks, cost prohibitive because you're not just stepping the foundation in that case. You're going to be stepping the roof line, or you're going to be stepping the ceilings inside the house. It's not just the one plane of the foundation itself that's being stepped. Now you're talking about stepping the overall engineering of the home, but we've done that before. It's pretty rare that we do it because most folks just end up being, I'd rather spend my money somewhere else, but it's not where we do typically see that happening is on a garage, for instance. So let's say that where the garage is on the home, that's where the big, it really drops down. Okay, well, in that case, it's not we'll just drop the garage lower and you'll have 2 or 3 steps going up into the home. We've done that. It's usually where there's way more out of level than 24. That's usually when there's 3 or 4 feet or more of drop or of slope, where we see that to be employed and make it cost effective. With 1 to 2 feet, it's not going to really be cost effective to do that, but it's physically possible.
Okay.
Good question, Mel. Thank you.
That makes sense. So we have a lot of people who are asking about what's included in our build cost, asking about various allowances for site clearing, landscaping, driveways. If you want to just talk about that, we can address all those at once.
Actually, we can go on. We have a slide, I think, talks about that broadly speaking. Then I'll get more to that when I get to that slide. I'll absolutely do that. Yeah, let's move along a little bit through the utilities, and then we'll come back to some of the questions about site prep and what's included and all that kind of good stuff. Great questions. Glad you guys are really engaged. This is obviously a very nebulous thing for a lot of people. So it's hard to get clarity on it. We'll figure it out together. Power, water, and septic or sewer, and gas to some degree. So these are things that you're definitely going to need. You're going to have power somehow. We're certainly going to need to build the house, and you're going to want to have it long term, particularly in the summertime when you want air conditioning. You're going to want power. You're going to want water. And how do we get all this stuff out there? We got to do something with the water once we use it. Where does that go? That's your septic or sewer. So power. So we got to figure out first who's providing the power out there. And most of our customers, particularly if you're in a rural area, which is about 91% of ours, you're going to be on a co-op or a cooperative. Texas is a deregulated state in that the state doesn't dictate who you have to use for power. You have the power to choose, quote unquote, but that's really mostly for your urban areas. So like if you're in Dallas or you're in Austin or you're in Houston or San Antonio, they're the power company, let's say, but CenterPoint, for instance, is one in the Houston area. They own the lines, and then you can choose who you want to buy your energy through. That ain't the case in the country. You as the old saying goes, get who you get, you don't throw a fit. So now they're very competitive. The rates are very, very good at these co-ops. So you may have a cooperative is exactly that. A entity has formed to where people in a rural area can afford to get work done to put power in. So to get power poles run, to take care of the transformers, to fix stuff when it blows out overnight. There's not gigantic companies out there that can do that. For instance, in Grapeland, Texas, you got the Houston County Electric Co-op that covers about a 4 to 6 county area, and they do a really good job and have really competitive rates. So anyway, we'll get an account set. You'll have to get an account set up with them. You usually have to meet a rep out at your property, and then we'll need temporary power to work, which of course we provide a temporary service of some sort, which is what you're seeing here. This is one of our temporary poles. And that's just a meter loop up there at the top. There's power line looped around, and then once the exterior is done, so kind of once the brick or stone or hardy is on the home, it's really ready to be hooked up to permanent power at that time. It's going to vary based on the entities. So guys, there's no statewide, here's how it works. Every cooperative is going to have a different set of rules that they want done. There is a National Electric Code overall that governs how wire is run, all that kind of stuff. But as far as where they're going to put the poles, how far they'll go from pole to pole, what kind of transformer they're going to want where. That's going to be totally and completely up to the co-op. That's not up to us, or usually even up to the homeowner. They'll work with the homeowner as much as they can, but the power needs to be figured out really straight away, because they're going to usually dictate where they're coming on to do power. So we want to get them out there involved early, and they could be overhead, of course, or underground. Water. All right, we need water, and how are we going to get it? Well, if you don't have any type of water entity out where you are, some type of community water or city water, you're going to have to put in a water well, or share a well. Some people, we've done some on family lands where they're actually sharing water wells, and there's some documentation that the mortgage company is going to want done if that's the case, but it can be done. But water wells, exactly that. They drill a hole, just like an oil well, only they're drilling for water, not for oil. So they don't have to go as deep nearly for water as you do for oil. So that's good. But they're going to drill down, get to a nice aquifer. They've got a lot of data of water wells around that tell them about how far they're going to have to go, but you really don't know until they start drilling, actually until they're finished drilling. So there's an idea, and usually when you get a price on one, what we've seen is it's X many $1,000, and that's to say 350 feet of depth. Then each additional foot is whatever, $17 or $21 a foot. That's typically how that works, but it's not somewhere you really want to spare money. You don't want to chinch on your water well. You don't want to drill one that goes dry after a couple of years. You want a good, solid, sustainable aquifer. Otherwise, you're going to get a water meter, a tap. So depending on who the water entity is, that will determine what the tap fee is. So anyway, that's that. And then sewer or septic. Well, this is a really easy one. I mean, 90% of what we do is a septic system, which is an on-site sewage facility, or OSSF. And it could be conventional, it could be aerobic, and then when it's aerobic, it could be spray application, which is what most of them are. There's another type called a drip application that is done on properties that are closer to bodies of water, lakefront properties that have to have septic, or riverfront properties that have to have septic. But all in all, it's going to be either aerobic or conventional, and or you're going to tap into a city sewer, but that's really just for the people that are building inside of a city and inside of a city where they've run sewer out to that property. Just because you're inside of a city does not necessarily mean that you're going to have access to city sewer. So something to consider, and of course we can help with all of these things. You are going to have a permit to put a septic system in. That is a state law. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality says thou shalt obtain a permit. In other words, the county is responsible for knowing what we're doing with the wastewater. You know, when we go to the restroom or take a shower or whatever, they want to know what's the plan for when that water goes down the drain and out of the house. You cannot just put it out onto the ground. You have to have a way to treat that. So a registered sanitarian is going to design a septic design, and then they're going to take that and apply to the county. Hey, here's our plan. Here's how big a house we're doing. Here's how many bedrooms. Here's how many bathrooms. Here's how many people per day could be using it. Here's how many gallons per day it's going to be doing. Here's how we're doing it. This permit actually is for a conventional or standard system. So this was not a aerobic system. This is in Grimes County, Texas. So there are still some reasonable counties out there. Grimes is one of them. Anyway, so they're going to give you a permit once they bless it and say, yep, that's okay, and then we move on down the road. Gas, for those of you who are going to want gas at the house, so you got all electric is one option, or you can have gas. If you're going to have gas, you have to either have natural gas, of course, or propane, or LP, liquefied petroleum. And so if there isn't natural gas available where you are, then your only option is total electric or LP, propane. And then we can either bury those tanks if that's what you want, or they can be done above ground. There are some subdivisions, deed restrictions, that require them to be buried, which is kind of interesting. So anyway, that's no problem. And a lot of our customers do propane, but it's not required. You can also go all electric. All weather access. So let's talk driveways a little bit for a second. In most cases, not all cases, but in most cases, you're going to cross some type of a ditch. So when roads are built, they're built with a crown at the top of the road, so that when it rains, it sheds water, and that water goes down into bar ditches or ditches that run alongside either side of the road. Well, if you're going to cross that ditch to get to a driveway, you're going to have to put something down there that allows water to move. That's what a culvert is called. That's what a culvert does. Culvert's just a big word for pipe. It's a pipe in the ground, and the county will typically determine what size it has to be. So if it's 18-inch or 24-inch or 36-inch, your county precinct will tell you what size, or tell us what size. And in most cases, in a lot of cases, they are the ones that actually will install it. They don't want us or you installing your own culvert, because the counties are responsible to FEMA for flood control. So they want to make sure that that culvert is installed at the right angle, it's the right diameter at the right angle, so that water flows through it. Because if you put a culvert in and you put it at the wrong angle, you have just created a dam, which is very different from a culvert. You will now hold water, and that's a problem. So that'll be put in, and then some type of a crushed road base on top. And then on top of that, if you're going to have concrete drive or asphalt drive or just a rock drive like this, that's okay too. But we are going to need some type of construction access, and we can certainly take care of that for you. So this is where I want to talk about the site prep, Dawn. So I'll get to this slide, and then we'll talk a little bit about that site prep stuff. So stakeout. What is a stakeout? Is a guy sitting in like a, Crown Victoria looking at somebody? No, it's not. It is us going out to the property and actually physically putting stakes in the ground of where the home is going to be. We help you locate on the site where it's going to be. We help you, we can, obviously we've done this a lot, so we can look around and usually see, hey, the power is coming from over here. Looks like your water is going to be over here. Over here, and all that stuff is flagged and distances are noted, and because there's rules that go with all those things. How close a dryer vent can be to a window, how close a septic stub can be to a water stub, how close a outdoor electrical outlet can be to an outdoor hose bib. And so we take all that stuff into consideration for you and help you kind of plan that stuff out. We draw a site plan, and then we do there's some type of site preparation, clearing, groundwork, culverts. So the questions were, what's included? Well, we don't include clearing for in our base prices, and here's why. Not everybody needs it. Not everybody needs. Not everybody has a thicket with 37 oak trees and pine trees in the middle of it. So it really wouldn't be fair to put $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 in clearing in the base price of every home, when many of our customers, in fact most of them, don't need any clearing whatsoever. So what we prefer to do is evaluate the site, or even if like, hey, I'm going to have, I need its complete thicket. Like, we have a pretty good idea based on the areas that we are, what it's going to cost to get it cleared. And that's usually the main thing. And we can price out construction drives, culverts, all those kinds of things at the local level. We really prefer to do that at the design center, because that's a very localized cost. There's no, broadly speaking, in Texas, particularly the size that we are, here's what it costs to put a construction drive in. It varies substantially across the state based on what type of material is available, based on how far it's going to have to be trucked in. Luckily, right now, diesel's pretty cheap, or cheaper than it was a month ago. So that actually will help things like site clearing and groundwork, site work, those kinds of things when diesel is down. It's not necessarily good for everybody that diesel or gasoline are low, but it does help with those type of costs. So Dawn, what can we help specifically with that? Like, what kind of some specific questions do people have? I want to be sure that we get part of that answer. So we do include 50 foot of water line, 50 foot of electrical line. That's all going to be included in the base price, of course. Septic, we have pricing for most of the counties we build in for Tilson to take care of the septic system. We have that in there. Again, we can get the culverts and clearing. That's all there. Landscaping, we do include like a final grade, bringing in material to do a final grade of some sort, establishing positive drainage, a minimum of 10 feet all the way around the home. In most cases, it ends up being more than that, but that's included in the base price of all of our homes. But as far as like, an irrigation system or plants or anything like that, that's not going to be something that's included. It is something that we can help take care of. In some of our locations, we do, like Texas Grand Ranch, we have a set of packages actually available for landscaping packages, and kind of a ABC level 1, 2, 3 kind of upgrade thing to do landscaping in there. So that we can do. What else?
Okay, great. I mean, I think you covered most of those associated questions. So do you want to answer some other types of questions, or you want to
Oh,
keep
I'd
going?
love to answer more questions.
Okay, and I've been trying to answer as many as I can that I know the answer to, because we have a ton of questions. So if my answer was not enough for you, please leave another comment and I'll have Eric answer you directly. Try to give him a little bit of a break. But Mariah is asking the average cost to add a 2-car garage to our floor plans.
Yeah, so if the plan doesn't already have one, it's probably somewhere in the around 30,000. It's going to get you pretty close. Somewhere between, depends on what your version of a 2-car garage is. I know that our version of a 2-car garage is very different from most subdivision builders' 2-car garage. We won't typically do anything smaller than like 22 by 22 overall dimension, and a lot of times I see down even as low as 18 by 19. In some subdivisions, they call that a 2-car garage. It's not fitting 2 cars. But it's a great question. I'd say between $28,000 to $35,000, depending on the plan and depending on what your version of what your definition of 2-car garage is. It's pretty close.
Great. Angelica is asking if they already have a mobile home on their property and they're taking it off. Is it best to put the house in the same location?
All right. So the question is, if we're removing a mobile home from the land, is it best to put the house in the exact same location? The answer to that, really the only thing that's going to be important there is if you're going to try and use the existing septic system. If there's a septic system there that you're using and you intend to use that, and the reason that's going to be the big driver is we need to make sure there's enough fall, because there's a very good chance that a mobile home that you're in now probably sits up higher than what a regular slab on grade home is going to sit. So we'd want to be sure that we can get enough fall from the sewer stub to where the septic is located. I hope that makes sense. So otherwise you may have to go a little bit further away to get the fall that you're going to need, or raise the house up higher. We can do that like in 6-inch increments. The pricing, we can't just raise the house once it's out there. We can price out raising it higher. But that's a great question. It makes sense to put it there, right? It's kind of where you wanted your house when you put that one out there, so it would make sense. With probably other trees that you planted, maybe, or if there's a pond or something like that out there, that's the vision. But we can do it there, or we've done it where we do it right in front of or right behind the existing mobile home, and that mobile home is then removed, of course, once the house is about finished. So, great question.
Great. Amanda is asking if a signed and sealed survey plat is the same as a survey.
No, ma'am. It is not. Great question. Yeah, a signed and sealed survey plat, the same as a land survey. Now, a boundary survey of a piece of property is it's on one piece of property. It's lot 7, block 21, or whatever, or it's this 5-acre here. If it's a subdivision plat, it'll usually have more than one lot on there. It'll have usually 20 or 30 or 50 of the lots on there at one time. So it's not quite the level of detail. I've seen some pretty detailed plats, but it's not quite the level of detail that you get when you get a boundary survey on a single piece of property. What I would recommend doing is let us take a look at it. Let's take a look at the signed and sealed survey plat, and we can look at that with a title commitment, with a Schedule B of a title commitment. That'll tell us, for instance, if there's a gas pipeline or an oil pipeline or something running, or electrical easement of some sort running through that could affect your lot, that aren't always drawn, in fact, are rarely drawn on a plat, but they will absolutely be on a survey. So those are things we're looking for. I'm never worried about when someone wants us to go look at their land. I'm never worried about the things I can see, right? I'm very worried about the things I can't see. What's under the ground? Is there an aerial easement that we don't know about, that we aren't allowed to build beneath? So those are the things that can be revealed to us in a survey and in a title report. So it takes care of the things that we can't see. That sounds kind of cryptic, but that's really if I can see it, I know I can deal with it. That's easy.
Right. That makes sense. Vera is asking about what type of slab foundation we use.
Oh, great. Okay, so we use, the answer to your question, Vero, is whatever type the engineer tells us to use. So they take that geotechnical investigation, and they look at how the soil is going to react, and then they design, our third-party engineer designs the foundation system for your home. I will tell you that the vast majority of our designs are post-tension slab on grade, which we believe is the best type to put down. We've been doing this, like I showed the first slide earlier, for 88 years and have built over 40,000 homes in all kinds of soil conditions. And for us, and we warrant our houses, and we stand behind our warranties, which is even more important than just warranting them. And for dollar, the post-tension slab on grade foundation is the best for soil types in Texas, from our experience. You know, there are plenty of websites that will absolutely contradict what I just said, and that's cool. When they start building, 300, 400, 500 houses a year and have to stand behind every one of them, I'll listen. Until then, we're going to do the right thing for our customers, but that's what we like to use. If piers are required by the engineer, we will do piers. We'll do what they require. It's very rare anymore that we have to do piers. It does happen, but it's pretty rare that that's needed. Usually, you get the design done up front, right on the post tension part. You're not going to need piers. Okay.
And then Willis is asking in our power discussion, are there any options for solar power?
Very few. We don't have a lot of experience with that. Most of our customers, if they do it sometime later. I don't know. We've done a couple of solar water heaters that I know of. We've done a couple of jobs where the solar panels are going on right after we're done with the roof while it's still under construction. But it's very, very, very rare. So I'm sure that is coming, but for most of our customers, it's not really something that they're into. But that may change. Great question, though.
Okay.
It's coming.
It is coming. And let's do one last question and then move on. From Kathy, is asking how often the superintendent visits the site.
Oh, great question, Kathy. How often does the superintendent visit the site? The answer is it depends on the phase of construction. So there are some phases where they'll need to be out there fairly frequently, and there'll be other phases where sometimes once a week may be the only time they need to be out there. I know they typically try to do twice a week no matter what, but that's not always the case. And again, it's really what it calls for. There's some times where they're out there once a week, twice a week, and sometimes we're out there 5 days in a row. It really depends greatly on exactly what phase of the home and kind of what level of detail or oversight is needed. Again, that goes back to choosing the right kind of contractors, kind of independent contractors. We really try to choose experienced, good quality independent contractors that we don't have to babysit, and that we can trust. This is not a subdivision type scenario where 12 houses are going on right beside each other. We're sending someone onto another person's property, and we don't take that lightly. It's a big deal to us, and so we're not going to send somebody we don't trust onto someone else's land. So great question, but yeah, the answer is it depends on the phase of construction that it's in. Good question.
Okay, great. Well, I would say let's go ahead and move on, and we will break again. We will answer everyone's questions. Just trying to make sure that we get through this for everybody who.
Sure. Yeah.
On a timeline.
We almost had time. People that are only on here for an hour. So, stakeout. Here's what's happening out there. We're going to meet you at the property. Of course, you see some flags here located in this picture. The home has been staked, and these are the corners that are flagged. They wanted to obviously have a view of that beautiful live oak tree, and I see a pond back there, so it's going to look great. We shoot grades. We have a laser that we use to shoot grade shots. If there's any kind of access needs to be dealt with, and I saw a comment on there that there is the construction drive is done, and then the most mortgage companies are going to require some type of final drive, final access. They can't have just a little pig trail through the woods, and a mortgage company be cool with that. They're going to want some type of a final drive, which we can help take care of. It can still be crushed rock or crushed concrete. That's no problem. You can still have a dirt road if that's your vision, and I love that vision. But anyway, this will help us decide, and then we will all leave actually with a list of responsibilities. We'll have a checklist after this little stakeout's done, because again, that goes back to there's things that you have to do as the landowner, because we can't. And so setting up accounts, for instance, for power and for water, all that, like we physically can't do that. So we'll give you a list of things to do, a checklist, so that you're not leaving there empty-handed, wondering what's happening next. Site plan kind of just shows where the house is going to sit, how far off the lot lines it is. And we typically only do one this detail when the subdivision requires it. So this was done in Vintage Oaks over there outside of New Braunfels. And the Architecture Control Committee wants to see a visual plan of what make sure the house is not going to be on any building lines, make sure it's not on any utility easements. That's what you're looking at here. You got a 25-foot, or actually 50-foot building line on the front, 10-foot building line on the sides, and a 50-foot building line on the back. So again, they're just trying to protect everyone's privacy. They don't want any neighbors up on top of each other. That's why people are buying 1-acre lots, so they can be away from other people, have some privacy. So driveways, culverts, all that stuff done. And then the actual site itself will be cleared if it needs to be cleared. So, and by cleared, we don't just mean cut the trees down. The stumps need to be removed as well. Because what can happen if you don't remove the stumps, let's say, is some builders, don't investigate it and see, well, that stump is going to rot over time, right? Under the slab, let's say, or under the ground. And when it does, it's going to leave a void, a cavity. And that's not good if your house is supported by that ground. So we're gonna pull everything out, backfill, grade it, make it all nice, smooth, pretty, packed, and then roll from there. Then any site work that needs to be done. So we bring any kind of fill material that needs to be done, drainage work to make sure water runs away from the house. We have to warrant these things. We want to stand behind that warranty. And then once all that stuff's been done, then construction begins. And this is typically the part where if you've done a production subdivision home, this is where your idea of construction beginning started. But the other stuff that we've been talking about for the last hour, all that happened years and years ago, or months and months ago, before you ever got involved in the process. Whereas when you're building a home on your land, you get to be a part of that whole front end process. So it really is really kind of fun. You learn a whole lot more about your land than you knew. But once all that stuff is done, then we can actually start the fun part, the actual construction of your home. You see here they're placing a slab. And yeah, so now we can get back to more and more questions. What else do we have, Ms. Dancy?
Lots and lots and lots of questions.
Brilliant.
All right, so Carmel is in a situation we actually see quite frequently. They're not going to be in Texas when they start building on their property. How much would we recommend that they be present?
Oh man, okay, so obviously, so that we run the gamut. All right, so we've got people that are like what you're talking about, actually even more extreme. We have people that one of my favorite customers, I'll give them a shout if they're even, I don't know if they're on. It's nighttime where they are. Michael and Ann Thompson. They live in the UK, and they built on 12 acres in Centerville, as they say. But so they lived overseas, worked overseas, like live in the United Kingdom, and we built the house. They were here 1 or 2 times to make decisions on the front end, sign paperwork, and they came back and here's the keys to your new home. And then we have other folks that are living on the property while we're building. So the other extreme, they live there either with in-laws or maybe in a mobile home, or maybe they sold their existing home. They live in a travel trailer out there. So you can be as involved or uninvolved as you want. We really like, it's your home, so we want you to be as involved as you can. There's nothing bad about another set of eyes looking at the house. That's a great thing for us. But you can take peace and solace knowing that it's going to have third-party inspections no matter where we're building. You've got a building superintendent that's overseeing it. You've got inspectors that are overseeing it. We have a quality control group that goes around and oversees and checks in from time to time on the projects. So it's never going to be absent of oversight completely. But we can, and even today we have found out, we can do a whole lot more virtually than we thought we could, right? Everybody can. So we've been doing a lot more kind of go-to-meeting type of meetings with people, screen shares, that kind of stuff. We're actually going to investigate this week, looking at design center selection stuff. That's really been our biggest hang up. We really want the customers in the design center kind of touching and feeling and seeing their flooring samples, their tile samples, their brick or stone samples. Those are permanent things, and we want them to be able to see what they're going to look like. But other than that appointment, where you select your colors, that's really the only one that you have to kind of be at right now. Beyond that, we've done it all virtually. We've got, everybody's got FaceTime now, so we have builders that show customers things out in the field using FaceTime, the iPad or a phone. So yeah, it's very minimal is required anymore. Very minimal.
Great. So Dawn is asking, how soon after signing a contract do they meet with their stakeout representative?
Okay, great question. So we try to do it within the first couple of weeks, if we can. It'll depend on what all information we have, and of course your schedule and the stakeout superintendent's schedule. But we try very hard to get that appointment done within 2-3 weeks, because we don't have to have the plans done necessarily. Now, if it's a highly customized, a lot of plan changes, really need a final set of plans, then it will be a little longer, because we do need those overall dimensions to be accurate when we're doing that. But if it's minimal changes where the design consultant could ascertain the overall exterior dimensions of everything, then we can do it just with what we call the red line plan. We don't have to have a full set of plans to do that. So it can be done in the first couple of weeks. We have some that happen the very same week, just everybody's schedule works out. We have some that with schedules that takes 2 to 3 weeks to have that happen. But yeah, the earlier the better.
Okay, great. Carmel is asking, they're trying to decide between 2 plans. Is that something that they should discuss with the stakeout team, or is that a design center question?
No, that's definitely a design center thing. Yeah, there's not going to be that much difference stakeout wise between 2 plans. It does happen. It's pretty rare, but if we have to go back and rewrite, ordinarily it's just a matter of like reversing the plan, or maybe moving the garage forward or back, or making the porch bigger or smaller or something like that. It's very rare that we get out there to a site and it's just so off the wall that we need to change plans completely. That's pretty rare. It has happened. You stay in business long enough, weird things happen, but it's pretty rare. That's usually a design center thing. You kind of know what views you want to be looking at out of your master bedroom, out of your family room, off the, and those houses are different enough where there's going to be a difference in what you're looking at out that back window. So design center can help. One of our design consultants can help with that a lot. Probably easier than the stakeout.
Great. Victoria is just asking for some clarification on whether the driveway is included in the price of the home, and if so, how much?
So the answer is no, ma'am. Driveway is not. Well, I take that back. If you go to the website and get pricing off of the website, that pricing is not going to have driveway included in it. If you go to one of our design centers and you sit down with them and we can ascertain about how far off the road you're going to be in those cases, then yes, we can price it and include it in there, but we don't have a tool to do that on the website. That's where I was different on. But yeah, we can include the driveway pricing if you do it in the design center, and because that is also based on your area, what county you're building in, all that kind of good stuff.
Right. But for the base prices on our website, we don't know how much driveway you include, so
exactly.
it's not included.
Base price on the website, that's a great point. Yeah, so it's not going to include the base price on the website. It's not going to include septic system, not going to include water well. It's not going to include a driveway, because again, not everybody needs those things, and those can be pretty big ticket items. So like the customer was asking earlier with the mobile home that's there, they have pretty much everything, right? They for sure already have a driveway of some sort. They for sure have some type of wastewater disposal, right? The septic system most likely in either water well or water meter. So it would, it'd be really misleading to include all those things in a base price, and they don't need any of them. So great question.
Yeah. So our friend Tony, who we know very well, would like you to clarify on drive. So apparently there's a lot of confusion. So what's the difference between a construction drive and the final drive?
Yeah, sometimes the same, not always the same. And I think that's where Tony's confusion is. So, or Tony's not confused.
Tony's one of our builders. He knows.
Yeah, Tony's one of our building superintendents. Tony's playing stump the exec,
yes,
which is cool. I like it.
It's their favorite game.
So what he's saying is that, yeah, that's kind of what I mentioned back before on the mortgage company. A little, while we may be able to, we try not to make our customers spend unnecessary money, right? Like that's for sure. And so we will tend to try and make things work from a construction standpoint that may not end up being how the final the final drive is going to be. So, because we don't really want the final drive in very early, because I don't want to tear it up, quite frankly. We're putting some really heavy equipment through there. So concrete trucks, dump trucks, lumber trucks. I mean, these things weigh in upwards of 50, sometimes 80,000 pounds. And in most people's driveways, you see run up and down in the subdivision, they're not designed to withstand that kind of weight. So we certainly don't want you putting your final drive in right away, because it's just going to get destroyed. But as you get closer to completion, maybe just, the last month or so of construction, that'd be a great time to do that. And then what Tony's saying is that a lot of times mortgage companies may not actually accept, if we've just been accessing it through a pig trail through the woods to get the home built, because we didn't want the customer to have to spend any unnecessary money, the mortgage company, whoever their mortgage company is, may not accept that as the final drive. Remember, mortgage companies are trying to protect their investment. So they're saying, if heaven forbid we ended up with this, could we sell it like this? Would someone require a more permanent final driveway? So that's what he's referring to. You may have to do some type of a, just another layer of crushed rock on top of it or something like that. Which again, we can help with that, but definitely don't do the final drive that you plan on doing at the very, very front end, because it's going to get tore up, and I don't want to be at odds with anybody. Certainly not any of our customers.
Absolutely. Ari had a question about the warranty that you mentioned. How long is it, and what is covered?
You asked two very good questions. And because you asked two very good questions, I'll answer a third one that you didn't ask. So warranty. So the law in Texas, actually, even though it's hard to enforce because Texas is a big place, but it's 1 year, brick to brick, everything. Aesthetics, all of it, like sheetrock cracks, tile cracks, all that kind of good stuff. That's a year. Cosmetic. And then there's a 2-year on your HVAC, your electrical, and your plumbing, so your mechanical equipment stuff. And then there's a 10-year structural, so slab, basically frame, that kind of stuff. Those are what's covered. Now, so that's what's covered, and that's for how long. Those are just through the builder. That has nothing to do necessarily with the manufacturer's warranty. So obviously Lennox has a longer warranty on their AC system than 2. But that's just through the builder. Now, the third thing you didn't ask is who backs it. And while we do have a company that inspects and insures to it called Structure Home Warranty, Tilson has its own warranty department. So when you call Tilson with a problem, a Tilson employee answers the phone, and when we come out, a Tilson employee shows up in a Tilson vehicle to fix your Tilson home. It is not some third-party contractor that we're, paying a deal to go out and service these things. The exception being, obviously, if your HVAC system is out for some reason, we're not going to send a Tilson warranty tech. We're going to send the HVAC company, right? But we take care of our customers. A warranty is really only, it doesn't matter what they say is covered. It doesn't matter how long they say it's covered for. It's only as good as the company that's behind it. And I don't care if it's a car, a house, a insurance company, whatever it is, it's only as good as the company behind it. So that's the third most important question to be asking is who handles the warranty stuff, and how's it handled, and what are my expectations? How long will it be to hear back from somebody? Are you going to get the utility cable guy? I'll be there between 8 and 5 sometime next Thursday. Like that's not how we're going to take care of our customers. So I would read less and less into what they say and how long they say is covered, and I'd ask a lot more questions on who am I going to be dealing with, and can I talk to somebody on about what that looks like, because the state law is 1, 2, and 10. Everybody should be doing that. The question is, do they actually warrant it, and will they show up, and are they going to fight you?
Absolutely. Brian wants to know if he would like to put in his own doors, lighting fixtures, etc. Do we allow that? Do we give you a credit for that? And will we install those things?
Yeah, that's typically not something that we are able to accommodate. We've tried in the past. There's a few things here and there, appliances from time to time. Even though when we do that, we have to have the exact appliance model numbers and cut sheets because it determines, the cuts of the granite and the countertop and the cabinets for like your wall ovens or microwaves. That's really about it. But other things that simply going back to the warranty first is a great timing on the question, Brian or Don, or both, those things become very, very, well, they're really not warrantable. Asking our electricians to install light fixtures that maybe were bought on Amazon or even at a retail store that may or may not have all the parts to go with them, and who's at fault if the light fixture fails? Is it the electrician who installed it? Is it the manufacturer? We go back to them. Whereas if we're handling everything, you pick the light fixture. What I would encourage you to do is tell me what you have, show us what you have an idea of. I guarantee you we can source it. We got a lot of resources for light fixtures and door hardware and all that kind of good stuff. But the things that we have to, doors especially, like exterior doors, those have to be rated for weather. They have to be rated for all kinds of that kind of stuff. And that warranting it is a big struggle when it starts to be, hey, I found this chandelier in Canton at First Monday, and I want you to install it. That's not something that we typically are. We have not had customers have good experiences long term with that kind of stuff. So we're very careful about making sure our customers end up being happy long term.
I think Viviana's question is probably a good piggyback on that, because she's asking about using her own contractors for certain items in the home.
Yeah, it's out of our allowance money. Okay, so the answer is not typically, no. There's very few things. It's like appliances is the only one that really comes to mind and where that would make sense. But we have found that it doesn't end up being the best experience for the customer. Because it just starts to become who's the contractor accountable to? Are they accountable to the customer? Are they accountable to Tilson as the who are they working for? And then it really comes down to warranty. When something goes, everything's going to be fine as long as everything's okay. But if that were the case all the time, there wouldn't ever be contracts and there wouldn't be all this other kind of stuff. So we have to plan for how's our customer going to be affected and taken care of if and when things go off the rails or badly. And we're not going to put our customer in a position to have a bad experience if we can help it. And it's not, man, we haven't had good experience with customer. We've had some, but they're very rare. Where for sure your HVAC, electrical, plumbing, that's a non-starter there. We're going to have to use the contractors that we use because we know their insurance well. We know the liability coverage, and those are all things to think about. Using contractors that we don't know. I don't know how much insurance they carry. I don't know how much workman's comp they carry, how much liability insurance they carry, what builder's risk do they carry, if any. It's not been something that we've enjoyed a lot of success with. That's about as politically right as I can say that.
That makes sense. We have a question here. I'm trying to find it. I promised Don that we would come back to it. He has asked where he can find a list of the standard included items like windows, flooring, and such. And I told him that any design center can provide him with that information. But if you wanted to hit a few of the highlights of things we include that may not be included elsewhere.
So items that we include, windows, flooring, and such. Okay, yeah, because there's literally hundreds of thousands of items that go into every home. So windows, yeah, we're going to be using double pane vinyl tilt sash, American made, actually Texas made window. It's got a limited lifetime warranty on it. It's a company in Dallas that makes them. We've got your floor covering is going to be included in all homes, tile in all your wet areas, of course. And then a very high end selection of carpet that's available, and of course we have wood and tile and wood looking tile and luxury vinyl plank and all that kind of good stuff. What else? Our Delta plumbing fixtures we use, Schlage door hardware, R38, depending on where you're building, R38 attic insulation, R15 in your walls, or if you're in climate zone 3 area, you're going to get spray foam included no matter what. Of course, we use radiant barrier decking standard no matter what, except for spray foam climate zone 3, of course. And then what else? Owens Corning shingles have a limited lifetime warranty on them. Golly, Don, I'm going, Frigidaire appliances are going to be included. With Electrolux that are available, really anything is available. Kohler plumbing fixtures, as far as your commodes and tubs and all that kind of good stuff. Granite on all your countertops, so bathrooms, kitchen, everything. That's all going to be granite is going to be included. The James Hardie products, all your soffit, exterior siding, anything like that, fascia boards, that's all going to be the James Hardie product. And then, of course, most plans are going to be included with your brick or stone or stucco of some sort. What else? Number 2 lumber throughout the homes, 16 SEER Linux, 15 SEER, Linux HVAC equipment. What else? What am I missing, Don? What do people think is important?
Well, I think you covered most of it. If there's any, Don, if you had a specific question about anything, let us know. But like I told you, any of our design centers can give you that full list of our current features. And no, there is a little bit of variation by plan. So ask them specifically about the house that you're considering.
And where you're building.
Yes, and where you're building. Absolutely. Carmel had a question about easy buy financing, which Carmel, there's actually an entire video here on our Facebook page where we went into it in detail, but I'm sure Eric can hit a few of the highlights for it of how that's different from a construction loan.
What's easy buy financing? How is it different than construction loans? Okay, so the biggest difference is you don't have to get a construction loan. So construction loan, you have to go to some type of bank or financial institution and borrow the money to build the home. So the builder does not have the financial wherewithal to build the house and get paid later. That's what a construction loan means. So they need you, the homeowner, the buyer, to go take out a loan to construct the home, a construction loan. So, and the builder, he or she, is going to take draws on that money. So, hey, I need $30,000 of the construction loan, the first draw, so that I can buy the concrete and get the slab placed and buy the lumber for the frame. And then you start immediately paying interest on that money the minute that he gets that first draw. And then he takes another draw, right? And now I got to do the framer and all that kind of, so, and you're either paying on that loan the entire duration of construction, or interest is accruing. A lot of our competitors have done, okay, well, how can we compete with the no construction loan thing? Well, we can make it where you don't have any payments on the construction loan until no payments during construction. Well, what's that mean? Well, it means that the interest is accruing and you're going to pay it as part of the closing cost when you close on the home at the end. So look at the fine print. But with ours, it's the only way to do it is it has to be your own money. It's literally our own money. So we build the houses out of our own back pocket. And so we don't need to borrow the money. We don't need you to borrow the money to build the house, and we don't need to borrow the money to build the house. We're going to build it out of our own back pocket, and we're not going to get paid by your mortgage company until the house is completely finished. You've done your walkthrough, we've completed the punch list or whatever we need to do, and you go to closing. That's when we get paid at the end. So that's the difference. And there's no payments during construction. There's no interest accruing during construction. We're just building your house. It also incentivizes us to do it in a timely manner because we're locking you in on a price today that we're not getting paid for till it's all finished. So it behooves us to get out there and go to work. So great question. But there's a whole video on it if you didn't get enough.
Yes, with very specific examples and showing you the cost.
Oh yeah, we did mathematics, didn't we?
We did the math. So Colleen is asking about the type of insulation used in the attic and if we use cellulose or only fiberglass.
We prefer to use fiberglass. I don't know of anywhere that we're doing cellulose right now. I had it done in a house once upon a time, but we prefer to do the blown fiberglass. We've had better experience with the fiberglass than the blown cellulose. It's typically a recycled type of material. Sometimes recycled newspaper. It could be doesn't necessarily have to be recycled, but it can be. But we prefer to use the blown fiberglass and fiberglass bats. We have done cellulose batted insulation as well, though. So we're open to alternatives there.
Okay. Vicky is asking about metal roofing, and is that an option?
Yeah, so metal roofs are an option. They're just a very expensive option, which is probably why you don't see them in a lot of our design centers. And the reason we don't, they're beautiful, first of all, so I'll say that. I mean, our design center in Bernie's got a metal roof on it. Design center in Bryan's got some metal roof accents on it. We had a model in Midlothian, it had a metal roof accent on it. So it's really, really pretty. There's no disputing that. The problem is shingles have really caught up and surpassed metal performance of late, and for a fraction of the cost. So for instance, there's a misconception out there that metal roofs do better in hailstorms or perform better long-term than shingles, and that's both of those are simply untrue. As bad as I hate to say it, because I like the way they look too, but they're just not. You can get Owens Corning makes a WeatherGuard HP shingle that'll withstand. I think they tested with 2-inch steel balls, ball bearings to simulate hail. I mean, it's ridiculous, and it's a tenth of what a metal roof costs. So that's typically why you don't see them. Is they're just very, very, very expensive, and your dollars. It's strictly for aesthetics. There used to be a break on insurance, for instance. You get if it's a metal roof, your insurance is cheaper. That's not true anymore either. So be very leery of that. But yeah, the answer is yes, we can do them, but they are expensive.
All right. Brian has a question in Lampasas County with spray foam insulation. Can they add batting in between the walls to act as a sound barrier?
Great question, Brian. The answer is yes, you can add batting on the interior walls. I would want to manage your expectations and tell you that, in my opinion, this is my opinion, it's probably not going to do as much for sound attenuation as one might think, because that insulation is going between the studs. So if I got studs here and my head is the insulation, the sound can still travel through the stud. So you can pack all the insulation you want to between the studs, but if there's racket going on in one room 4 inches away, and those sound waves are reverberating through, the insulation will help on those parts, but it will travel through the board itself. There are other things that can be done. There's other boards there's sound attenuation boards. We've seen people use that. I've actually done this before, where we offset studs. I mean, you end up giving away 2 to 4 inches of one of the rooms or both, but you offset the studs and then you insulate between those, and that will do more for true sound attenuation to try and lessen. But I don't want to, and again, it's your money, use it however you want to use it, but I wouldn't want to just sell you something and say, okay, yep, put insulation on the interior walls and that'll take care of your sound, and then you'd be upset when it doesn't. So there's other things to think about, and that's offsetting the studs is usually the easiest if you're really concerned about that. But
good information.
Excellent question.
Don also has a very excellent question, asking about the price in the original contract. Is that set, or do we have a clause that says we can change it based on material cost?
Thank you, Dawn. That is a great question. Dawn has apparently read somebody's contract, and it ain't Tilson's. That's good. So yeah, the answer to your question is it's set. It cannot be changed based on material costs rising. A lot of what he's referring to, or I think he's referring to, I could be wrong, is what's referred to as a cost overrun clause. And most builders and general contractors, commercial contractors, but even a lot of residential builders, custom builders, have cost overrun clauses in their contract, and they mean exactly what he's referring to here. And that is, hey, if lumber gets a tariff slapped on it and goes up 26% overnight, I can go up whatever the cost overrun. Usually it's 15 to 20% is what the cost overrun says. They can go up as much as 20% or as much as 15% if their cost overrun. We don't do that. We feel like it's our obligation to the customer to have our stuff squared away and know what things are going to cost. And then that's a risk that we take. But we want to have our customers have the security and peace of mind knowing that when they enter into an agreement with us, that's the agreement. We're very upfront about what is and what is not included, of course, and that you'll see that when you go through an agreement with any of our design consultants. And but a cost overrun or what you're talking about is not in our contracts. We don't do that to our customers. Great question.
Okay, great. And then Christian has a question about who is responsible for building the road to get to the home site.
Who's responsible to build the road to get to the home site? So if you have contracted us to do it, so if we've put in the price, construction drive X dollars, then it's us. If we haven't if there's not a line item in there for the construction drive, then the homeowner, the landowner is responsible. So again, if you go to our website and get the base pricing off of the website, that does not include a construction drive or road to the home site. That's because again, I never know if you're building on a city lot that you're 25 feet off the road, or if you're on 700 acres and you're 2 miles from the gate. So there's not really a way to include a number in there that would cover, broadly speaking, most of our customers. So we can do it, but it's not going to be in the base price that you see on the website prices.
Okay. And Don says, yes, they have read and had a few bad experiences with local builders.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Don do the next. Don's gonna do the next Facebook Live, Mr. Don Harris, and I'm gonna let him tell. Yeah, because that's one to think about, guys. That's a big deal. Is the paperwork that you're signing, is that going to be the price, or can they go up? And if so, how much? And who decides what's fair?
Yes, absolutely. And we actually did have a question. I tried to answer it, but you may want to address it too. Kathy was asking how often our prices go up.
Great question.
And that was definitely a good add-on to that conversation.
Yeah, we do quarterly updates. We try to keep our pricing up to date on a quarterly basis. So, like April 6th, for instance, was the beginning of a new quarter. I guess I felt like it was May the 73rd or March the 73rd, rather, whatever. But anyway, March did finally end, and we got into April. But quarterly is when we adjust so we're maintaining our pricing all along, and then we roll that new pricing out the beginning of every quarter. Sometimes they're very minor, a couple $100 here and there. Sometimes they're fairly significant, $3,000 to $5,000 to $7,000. It depends on the county, really, more than anything else. Those are typically done regionally. So like North Texas versus Hill Country, Central Texas, and then kind of the Gulf Coast area. But quarterly is pretty reliable. The prices are going to change quarterly.
Right, but once you're under contract, your price isn't going to be.
That's correct. That's right.
None of that affects you.
Yeah, the reality is prices change every day. I mean, the price that we're paying every day, it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. Trending, it goes up, right? Gallon of milk, gallon of gas, anything else. Over time, it's going to go up. I know gas is down right now. Enjoy it while it lasts. It will not stay that way forever. But to keep some kind of stability in what we're quoting to customers, we only change it on the front end quarterly. Great question.
Great. So I've put out one last call for questions, folks. If there's anything that you want Eric to answer today, please let us know. But we also have Angelica made a comment to please come back and do another video soon. So I just wanted to let everybody know that we will be back Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Time. And we'll be talking about a home that we recently shared, that Magnolia that we did the custom farmhouse exterior on. That's the one that we will be talking about on Thursday at 2. So make sure to tune in if you want to hear more about that home.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one. It's going to be a lot of fun. I saw that Vicki had asked about with the pandemic going on and the downturn in the economy, will price go down? I doubt it. We have not seen any of our vendors or suppliers go down in price. So we're not just showing up out there with a house to drop on a piece of property. We're buying lumber, we're buying hardy plank, we're buying electrical wire, we're buying stone, we're buying, paying contracts and no, our lumber suppliers and light fixture suppliers haven't rang us up to tell us how much they're dropping their prices. It's not going to happen.
Because what's going to happen is they're going to start making less, which means there's less available, supply demand.
That's right.
So that's
keep it
about the same.
yeah, they're able to control how much supply they have into the market. You know, they're fairly smart about that stuff. They don't just flood. That's, you know, they don't just flood. That's why they can control, like, even granite all the way down to that. You know, they don't have to, like right now they're probably not mining in a granite quarry, because they know that there's enough supply out there right now to sustain the current demand, which will be low. That way they can hold their prices at where they are. It's very, very rare that we ever see a price decrease of any kind, which is, I mean, makes sense, right? I mean, a house today costs more than it did 5, 10, 20, 50 years ago, for all those very same reasons. But that's a good question. Yeah, it's not like a commodity item. You know, I don't know that groceries are costing any less than they did a month ago. In fact, I'll bet they're not costing less because of the pandemic. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, the prices and interest rates you see today will likely be the lowest ones you see in our lifetime. So,
let's see. Nuffy says hello.
Hello, Newfie.
Tell us how we did.
Thanks for everything you do out in the field, buddy. We sure appreciate it.
He'd be one of the guys meeting with you.
Thank y'all so much for joining us today. You can reach out on all of our various channels. You can reach out to our design centers or our online sales consultants. You can find us on Facebook, obviously. You can find us on Instagram. We got a YouTube channel that's picking up where we put all this stuff over to. So if you missed something or want to go back and rewatch something and not listen to me babble the whole time, you can just fast forward to a spot. Go check that out. But we're here to answer all your questions. You know, really, whether you use us or not, man, please ask the questions, because we've been doing this a long, long time, and we can help keep you out of trouble, and help make it a really magical experience for you. So we do hope you get to build a home on your land one day, and we hope to soon, one day, make you part of the Tilson family. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Dawn.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
See y'all.